A reality TV star was just arrested by federal marshals. David Sparks, the man known as Heavy D, was the king of the Diesel brothers. But his whole empire was built on a lie. A group of doctors made a terrifying discovery about his trucks, a secret that would shut down his entire business and land him in jail. The kings of diesel. For years, if you were into trucks, you knew the Diesel brothers. Their show, which started on the Discovery Channel back in 2016, was a massive hit. The stars were David Sparks, known as Heavy D, and his friend David Kiley, known as Diesel Dave. And no, they are not actually brothers. They were based in Utah, and they built some of the most insane, oversized, and powerful diesel trucks in the world. Their brand was built on a very specific image. It was loud, it was rebellious, and it was all American. They were not just mechanics, they were celebrities. They built a huge lifestyle brand. They had their shop, Sparks Motors. They had their online store, Diesel Power Gear, selling apparel and parts. And they had Diesel Sellers, an online marketplace for their custom-built trucks. They were some of the biggest influencers in the car world. Heavy D has 4.5 million subscribers on his main YouTube channel right now. He has 3.8 million followers on Instagram. A huge part of their business model was their famous truck giveaways. They would build a monster truck, sell merchandise, and every dollar spent on merchandise was an entry to win the truck. It made them millions. They looked unstoppable. They were the kings of diesel, living the American dream. But their entire empire, their whole brand, was built on a dark and dangerous secret. They were hiding something they were doing to their trucks, something illegal. And they were so proud of it, they filmed it and put it on TV for the whole world to see. Rolling coal, their brand was not just about big trucks, it was about rolling coal. If you do not know what that is, you have probably seen it. It is when a modified diesel truck blasts a giant cloud of thick black smoke from its exhaust. For the Diesel brothers, this was not just a side effect. It was the whole point. They glorified it. But here is the secret. A modern diesel truck cannot do that. It is impossible. New trucks have special pollution control equipment required by federal law to keep the air clean. To make a truck roll coal, you have to physically rip out that equipment. You have to tamper with the engine. This is what the Diesel brothers were doing. They were not just building trucks. They were selling the very parts needed to break the law. They sold something called defeat devices and delete kits. These are special computer chips and pieces of pipe that bypass or delete the truck's pollution controls. They were so proud of this, they posted videos about it. In one of their most infamous videos, they showed one of their giant modified trucks pulling up next to a small hybrid Toyota Prius. The caption on the video said, "What do you do when you see a dorky Prius driver? Watch the built diesel smoke out a Prius." The video shows their truck blasting the small car with a thick cloud of toxic black smoke. They thought it was hilarious. They were laughing. But a group of local doctors in Utah was watching, and they were not laughing. This is where the story changes. This is where the shutdown begins. In 2017, a lawsuit was filed against David Sparks, David Kiley, and all their companies. But this lawsuit was not from the government. It was not from the EPA. It was from a small, local nonprofit group called Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, or UPHE for short. This is so important. This was not a big, powerful government agency. It was a group of doctors. They filed something called a citizen lawsuit. This is a special part of the Clean Air Act that lets regular citizens sue polluters. And what these doctors did had never been done before. Their lawsuit became the first successful citizen lawsuit in history to target mobile sources, meaning trucks, instead of just a factory or a power plant. These doctors were true underdogs, and their leader was a man named Dr. Brian Moench. This guy is a 40-year veteran anesthesiologist, now retired. He used to be a junior faculty member at Harvard Medical School. He is a serious expert on public health and the environment. So why did Dr. Moench and his group of doctors care so much about a TV show? Because the Diesel brothers were based in Utah, right near Salt Lake City. And Salt Lake City has some of the worst air quality in the entire country. For real. The American Lung Association ranked the Salt Lake City area 9th most polluted in the nation for ozone. In the winter, the area has a huge problem called a temperature inversion. Because of the mountains, cold air gets trapped on the valley floor, and a layer of warmer air acts like a lid. All the pollution from cars, houses, and factories gets trapped, and everyone has to breathe it. It becomes a thick, brown, poison soup. And what is one of the biggest parts of that poison soup? Diesel exhaust. According to UPHE, diesel exhaust makes up half of all the pollution from mobile sources in the area. These doctors were the ones on the front lines. They were the ones treating the victims. They were seeing children come in with asthma attacks, elderly people with worsening heart and lung disease, and even links to strokes and premature births. They knew exactly how dangerous this pollution was, and then they would turn on the TV, and they would see the Diesel brothers, their local celebrities, glorifying this pollution. They saw them making it look cool to poison the air that their patients were breathing. They saw the Prius video, and they decided they had to act. The doctors saw the problem, but to win in court, they needed proof. They could not just show the coyotes, judge a TV show. They needed hard evidence, so they launched their own investigation. And what they found is the terrifying discovery from our title. The terrifying discovery. The doctors at UPHE did something brilliant. They went out and bought a truck that the Diesel brothers had modified and sold. They did not just guess. They got a receipt. They proved it was their truck. Then they took that truck to an independent lab. They put it on a machine and they tested its emissions. They measured exactly what was coming out of that tailpipe. The results were horrifying. The Diesel brothers' truck spewed 36 times more pollution, 36 times than a normal stock truck. It also pumped out 21 times the amount of particulate matter. Let's be very clear about what that means. The delete kits and defeat devices the Diesel brothers were selling were not just cheating. They were creating a 30-fold increase in pollution. That is a 3,000% increase from a single truck. But what is this pollution? It is two main poisons. The first is called NOx, or nitrogen oxides. This is the stuff that forms ground-level ozone, or smog. It is what makes the air look brown and hazy. It attacks your lungs, triggers asthma, and makes respiratory diseases worse. The second, and this is the scary one, is called PM2.5. That stands for particulate matter 2.5. This is the black soot. These are particles of poison so tiny you cannot see them. They are smaller than a blood cell. They are so small that when you breathe them in, they do not just stay in your lungs. They go right through the lung tissue and enter your bloodstream. Once this poison is in your blood, it can cause damage everywhere. PM2.5 is directly linked to heart attacks, strokes, lung cancer, and premature death. This is what was coming out of those trucks. Dr. Brian Moench, the Harvard-trained doctor, had a name for them. He called the Diesel brothers' trucks disease-generating machines. And the problem was huge. This was not just a few trucks in Utah. The EPA estimates that over 500,000 diesel trucks in the United States have been illegally deleted, just like the Diesel brothers' trucks. All those illegal trucks, just that 500,000, created so much extra pollution it was the same as adding 9 million new stock trucks to the road. The Diesel brothers were not just at the center of this industry. They were its celebrity salesmen. They made it cool. They made it a lifestyle. The doctors had their proof. They had the truck. They had the lab results. They had the sales receipts. They took this terrifying discovery to a federal judge. In March 2020, U.S. District Judge Robert Shelby gave his final ruling. It was a total and complete loss for the Diesel brothers. The judge found that David Sparks, Diesel Dave, and their companies had violated the Federal Clean Air Act hundreds of times. First came the penalty. They were hit with a massive fine, $851,450. Let's break that down. $761,451 of it had to be paid to the U.S. government. The other $90,000 had to be paid to their local community, Davis County, Utah, to help with pollution prevention. And here is the part that really hurt. The judge ruled that this entire debt, all $851,451, could not be avoided or discharged in bankruptcy. It would follow them for the rest of their lives. But the money, that was not the real shutdown. The real shutdown was the second part of the judge's order. This was a permanent ban. The judge permanently banned the Diesel brothers, their companies, and anyone working for them from ever removing emissions equipment again. They were banned from installing defeat devices. They were banned from selling defeat devices. And they were banned from selling any vehicle that had its emissions controls tampered with. Their entire illegal business model, the thing that made them famous, was officially and permanently shut down by a federal court. You would think this would be the end. You would think at this point they would stop. They were caught. They were fined. They were banned. Did they apologize? No. When the judge asked Heavy D in court about that video of them smoking out a Prius, Sparks had the nerve to blame an employee. He said it was created by an employee I fired after I saw that video. But guess what? The video, which had over 800,000 views at the time, was never taken down. It is still up. They did not learn a thing. They were not sorry. And they decided to fight the ruling. Flagrant misconduct. They took their case to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, a very high federal court. Their main argument was that the doctors, UPHCE, did not even have the right to sue them in the first place. They argued that only the government could do that. They were trying to get the whole case thrown out on a technicality. On December 28, 2021, the appeal court gave its answer. It was another crushing loss for the Diesel brothers. The court rejected almost all of their arguments. They did get one tiny win. The court said that UPHE, being a Utah-based group, only had the right, or standing, to sue for the pollution that happened in their area, the Wasatch Front. The court said the doctors could not sue for the trucks or parts the Diesel brothers sold to people out of state. Because of this one technicality, the court did reduce their total fine by about $200,000. Now, remember this. This is the only thing Heavy D won in this entire 9-year-long case. He uses this one small fact to spin everything that happens next, but the court upheld everything else. They were still liable. They still owed hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the court added a stinging new phrase to the case. The appeal court's official ruling said that the Diesel brothers had engaged in flagrant misconduct. That is a direct quote from the federal court. This was not a mistake. It was not an accident. It was flagrant. And to make the loss even worse, the court reaffirmed that the Diesel brothers had to pay all of UPHE's legal fees. The doctors had spent years fighting this, and the Diesel brothers were responsible for their entire bill. That bill had now grown to over $843,000. So now the case is over. The appeals are done. The fines are set. All they have to do is pay the bill. But what did Heavy D and the Diesel brothers do? For 3 years, they paid nothing. And that is when this story stops being about pollution and starts being about a federal manhunt. That is when this gets really crazy. After the 2021 appeal, the case was closed. The Diesel brothers just ignored the court. They owed $843,600 in fines and legal fees, and they just did not pay. They paid nothing. The doctors from UPHE, who had already won the case, now had to go back to court over and over. But this time, they were not acting as environmental lawyers. They were acting as bill collectors. And Judge Robert Shelby was not happy. He had given them a direct order, and they were ignoring him. On June 24, 2024, Judge Shelby found David Sparks and his companies in contempt of court. This is a very serious finding. It means you are openly defying a judge's order. Still, they did not pay. So, in August 2025, the court stopped asking nicely. The judge got serious. This is where it gets personal. The court started to seize Heavy D's property. First, the judge granted a motion to foreclose the lien on David Sparks' own membership interest in his company, G.I. Sparks, LLC. In simple terms, the court was taking his share of his own company. Second, the judge granted a writ of execution on Sparks' cabin. This gave the U.S. Marshals the power to seize his vacation home and sell it. Third, the judge lifted the stay on the writ of execution for his main home in Bountiful, Utah. This meant the Marshals were now cleared to seize his house. The court documents from this time show how desperate Heavy D was getting. He tried to argue in court that his divorce proceedings made it hard to pay his debts, but the judge looked it up, and the court found that his divorce case had been dismissed almost a year earlier in November 2024. The judge wrote in his order that Heavy D's claim was completely false. He was caught lying to a federal judge. He was running out of options. He even tried to hold a massive garage sale to raise cash. He made a YouTube video about it, titled "A Federal Judge Stopped Our Massive Garage Sale." And that is exactly what happened. The judge did stop it. The court ordered that all the money from that garage sale, the gross proceeds, had to be deposited with the court first. He was completely boxed in. He was losing his companies. He was losing his cabin. He was about to lose his home. He was caught lying to the court. The judge had finally had enough. The arrest. On October 2, 2025, Judge Robert Shelby issued a bench warrant for the arrest of David Heavy D. Sparks. 5 days later, on October 7th, federal marshals showed up. They took him into custody. The star of Diesel Brothers, the man with 4.5 million YouTube subscribers, the king of Diesel, was arrested and booked into the Salt Lake County Jail. He later said he spent 3 days in solitary confinement. The news exploded. Diesel Brothers' star arrested was everywhere. His lawyer, a man named Cole Cannon, immediately gave a statement to People magazine and other news outlets. We have to read this statement because it is a brilliant piece of legal spin. He said, Mr. Sparks was not arrested for a crime. In fact, no crime has been alleged or charged. The arrest stems from a civil matter regarding some zealous environmental attorneys seeking collection of attorneys' fees. Now, was he lying? No. And that is what makes it such good spin. He was technically right. Sparks was not arrested for a new crime. He was arrested for civil contempt. Let me explain what that means in simple terms. Civil contempt is not to punish you for what you did in the past. It is to force you to do something right now. The judge was not saying, "You are a bad person, go to jail." The judge was saying, "You will stay in jail until you comply with my order to pay." In civil contempt, the person in jail holds the keys to their own jail cell. All Heavy D had to do was show the court the money, or at least provide the financial documents he was hiding. And that is exactly what happened. After 3 days in jail, Heavy D was suddenly released. Why? Did he win? Did the judge apologize? No, he caved. The court records are very clear. He was released because he reached a stipulation with the doctors. He finally agreed to give UPHE the financial disclosures and payment information that the court had been demanding for years. He did not win. He surrendered. But that is not the story David Sparks told his fans. The moment he got out of jail, he logged onto social media to start a massive PR campaign. And the story he is telling is completely different. Vindicated. As soon as he was released, Heavy D went straight to Instagram and YouTube. He posted a 32-minute long video called "The Truth Behind Why I Was Thrown in Jail." It already has almost 4 million views. In the video, he tells his 4.5 million subscribers that he feels vindicated. He says his arrest was not about refusing to pay money that I rightfully owed. He says it was about standing up to a broken system that has been hijacked by bad actors, mostly lawyers. He calls the $843,000 in legal fees he owes extortion wrapped in legal paper. He claims that his lawyer, Cole Cannon, went into that court hearing and showed 40 slides of hard evidence that the other lawyers, the doctor's lawyers, had misled the court for years. He is trying to flip the entire story. He wants his millions of fans to believe that he is the victim, but he is twisting the truth. Remember that win in the appeal? The one where the court reduced his fine for the out-of-state trucks? He is blowing that up. He claims in his video that the appeal court gutted the case down to 1% of what it was. But they did not. They just trimmed the fine. He still lost. He still was found to have committed flagrant misconduct. And he still was ordered to pay the doctor's legal fees, which is the exact bill he was arrested for not paying. He claims he was vindicated by the judge, but the court documents show he was only let out of his jail cell after he agreed to the court's demands. He was let out because he complied. It is an amazing spin campaign. He is painting himself as a hero for the people, fighting a corrupt system. But to really understand what is happening, you have to look at the company he keeps. You have to look at who his lawyer, Cole Cannon, really is. And this is the most shocking part of the entire story. So, who is this team of David Heavy D. Sparks and his lawyer, Cole, the Law Father Cannon? Well, in February 2024, just a few months before Heavy D was found in contempt of court, a very famous company tried to nominate both David Sparks and his lawyer, Cole Cannon, to its board of directors. That company was Nikola Corporation, the electric and hydrogen truck company. And who was the man who nominated them? The company's founder, Trevor Milton. If that name sounds familiar, it should. In December 2023, Trevor Milton was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. Why? For securities fraud and wire fraud. He was found guilty of lying to investors about his company, a massive $165 million fraud. Let's put this all together. The man in prison for one of the biggest corporate frauds in recent history, Trevor Milton, tried to put the man famous for flagrant pollution violations, Heavy D, and his lawyer, Cole Cannon, on the board of directors of a zero-emissions truck company. You cannot make this up. What did Nikola Corporation do? They publicly rejected the nominations. They put out a press release saying that Sparks and Cannon have no public company experience, add no skills to the board, and indisputably lack the depth of experience. One news article summed it up perfectly. The headline said, "A man convicted of fraud appears to have tried to nominate a man accused of violating the Clean Air Act to the board of a zero-emissions truck maker. This is the team that is now on YouTube telling you they are the victims." The Diesel brothers were not shut down by zealous lawyers. They were shut down by their own flagrant misconduct. The terrifying discovery was not a legal trick. It was 36 times the legal limit of pollution. It was real poison, PM 2.5, that they were glorifying and dumping into their own communities. Cashew air. David Sparks was not arrested to silence him. He was arrested because he thought his fame put him above the law. And after 9 years of fighting, the bill finally came due.